Good evening. My name is Yosef Kabeda. I am the acting bureau head for the Bureau of Water and Wastewater in Baltimore City's Department of Public Works. Thank you very much for coming out tonight for our public forum on the Modified Consent Decree, also known as MCD. We appreciate you coming out. Wanted to make sure that we communicate to you that we take our responsibility with the MCD very seriously, as it is very much relevant to the vision of DPW as a whole to be a proponent of the environment and the health and vitality of communities. So we appreciate this opportunity to engage with everyone on this level. I am going to hand it off to the Chief of the Office of Legal and Regulatory Affairs, Mr. Paul DeSantis, who will basically walk you through, give you some highlights of the work that we've done on the MCD over the past 12 months, okay? After he's done, we invite you to visit excuse me, all the learning stations that you see around the room. You'll be able to engage with some of our colleagues who are subject matter experts in various areas and components of the program. So again, thank you very much for joining us, and then I'll hand it over to Paul now.
Thank you, Yosef. So for tonight's agenda, we're going to go through a program overview. We're going to give you updates on what we've been doing for the past 12 months to comply with our modified sanitary sewer consent decree. We're going to then allow you to circulate through, visit all of the different learning centers. You can talk to the experts on the various fields that we have, and we can take it from there. So for a program overview, this is a consent decree. It is a settlement for a lawsuit. We entered into a consent decree with the US EPA and Maryland Department of the Environment on September 30th, 2002. For years, for decades, dating back to as far as the 50s, the city and the surrounding jurisdictions were more focused on expanding the utilities into the surrounding counties, into Howard County, into Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, to ensure that those counties had access to a very fine potable water drinking system, or drinking water system. That also, with that, we expanded the scope of our wastewater treatment utility as well. When we were focused on expanding that system, we did not take as much care in going back and maintaining the aging infrastructure that we originally placed in the city. As a result, we had cracks in the aging system, leaky joints. Those things allow for stormwater to infiltrate, for groundwater to infiltrate in. That precipitation will allow and take up the capacity within the system, and it leads to sanitary sewer overflows. That is a violation of the Clean Water Act. That is not an approved place to discharge sewage. It is not treated. Therefore, we were in violation of the Clean Water Act and entered into a consent decree to create a plan to fix it. The original consent decree in 2002 set forth a list of projects that we had to complete. These were projects that would rehabilitate our system, and they set forth a deadline for 2016 to have those completed. We did not meet that deadline, in part because as we were going through our system, it was not behaving as we assumed it would under our hydraulic model. That is because there was a significant hydraulic restriction at the Back River wastewater treatment plant. So the Back River wastewater treatment plant is here. There was a hydraulic restriction, which is the pink area on this chart. That is about a 10-mile area within our sanitary system in which sewage just exists at all times. So that is a significant change. It forced us to reconsider how we were going to address the rehabilitation of our system and what we were going to do and plan to have a true reduction in the amount of SSOs that we've been experiencing. So tonight we're here to educate you on what we have been doing to proceed with our improvements to this system to reduce those sanitary overflows. Afterwards, again, you'll be able to go around and talk to folks at the learning stations. And that will allow you to connect with people within DPW, and they'll be able to answer questions that you might have. So currently, we have entered into a modified sanitary sewer consent decree on October 6, 2017. We didn't just extend deadlines. We actually went back to the drawing board, and we have restructured the way we're doing the work to rehabilitate the system. We're developing two phases here. Phase one is the work that is essentially required under the 2002 consent decree, plus we added to that the Headworks project, which is an extremely large pumping station that will alleviate the hydraulic restriction at Back River. Then we're going to implement some monitoring period. We're going to evaluate the effects of those projects on our system, and then we're going to engage in some design for phase two. Now, phase two will be a process in which we're upsizing our pipes in order to establish a specific performance goal. We're trying to establish a 5-year level of protection around the city with a 10-year level of protection for sensitive areas. So we're not just extending the deadlines here. We'll have overall compliance through phase two at the end of 2030, but we're extending the deadline so we can do this in a more economical manner. We had to increase rates for the work that we're needing to do here, but we want to make sure that we're not overburdening the contractors that we have doing these projects. We want to stretch this out so we can get the best bang for our buck. We're also working smarter and doing more now. We're using some adaptive management here, so we're ensuring that after phase two, we're actually designing a system that is going to perform as we want it. This is a big task. It takes a lot of people within DPW to work together to collaborate to get all this done. So we have people here from the Office of Engineering and Construction. These are the folks that design our projects and ensure that these projects are getting built on time. We have operation and maintenance. These are the folks that go out. They respond to maintenance issues that we have within our system. We have DPW facilities who are working on pumping stations, working on some of the wastewater treatment plants, some of these other large facilities that we have that are a necessary part of our system. Our boards and commissions is necessary to help us get our project contracts approved. We have DPW communications, which inform the public for events like this, help us educate the public at times when we need it. And then we have our program management consultant team who are around the room today. This is a new contract with a new team. We recently hired AECOM to serve and help us with the program management, and we're happy to have them here today. So this is sort of an outline of the modified consent decree, and the various paragraphs are listed here and the tasks that we have to go through. You don't have to memorize this. I'll walk through them for you. Or maybe you can memorize it. All right, there we go. So under paragraph 8, we have to eliminate structured overflows. Structured overflows are actually openings, outfalls within our sanitary sewer system that allows untreated sewage to discharge to streams, surface waters, when the system is too taxed. So if we have a huge rain event and that clear water is getting into the sanitary system, it was actually designed to allow that system to relieve the pressure and discharge to surface waters. That is not okay under the Clean Water Act. That is not how we would design something like this today. We need to close these things up. That's the way we're going to improve water quality within our streams. It's a public health issue. When we entered into the consent decree, we had 62 structured SSOs that we are aware of at that time. We have eliminated 60 of them. The two remaining discharged to Jones Falls, we are numbering them 67 and 72. They are pretty significant discharges. They cannot be closed until we get the Headworks project completed. We have found during the course of our work another 15 SSOs. Another 6 of those have been eliminated. So currently we have 11 SSO structures that are being monitored. We actually have flow monitors on them. So during rain events, if discharges are coming through them, we are keeping track of what's going on. And we have submitted action plans and schedules to MDE and EPA to have all of these things eliminated. We get it? All right. So for paragraph 9, this is really the phase 1 projects. These are the projects that were set forth in the 2002 consent decree. We've added to that the Headworks project, which we'll talk about. So over the past month, we have completed another 4 consent decree projects. We have 12 that are active and ongoing, and then 1 project in pre-construction. Currently, we have completed 23 consent decree projects for phase 1. So what type of projects do we have? These are generally projects to rehabilitate the system. Cured in place pipes, they are able to coat the pipe in a resin or some sort of polymer. That makes it watertight. That seals the joints if they were leaky. If there were cracks, that seals them. So it prevents some of that inflow or infiltration of stormwater or groundwater into the system. It ensures that we're really only having sewage flowing through the sanitary sewage system. We also have the Back River wastewater treatment plant Headworks project. That is a massive influent pumping station, which is essentially sucking through that hydraulic restriction, having it pushed into the headworks of the treatment so it is properly dealt with. Associated with that are new screening and grit removal facilities, and then we're adding in 36 million gallons worth of storage. When we have high flow events during rain events, to make sure that we do not have bypasses from the wastewater treatment plant, we're going to be able to put those, store them in giant tanks, and then we can bleed it through slowly, use it for equalization. So we also have some deliverables and studies that we do. Part of probably the main tool that we utilize as part of the modified consent decree is our hydraulic model. That is a predictive tool that we use all the time to see what effects a rain event would have on the system, to see how the capacity is and what capacity is available within the system. We have added additional flow monitors and rainfall gauges. We've created additional early notification sites in areas that we have had frequent sanitary sewer overflows. That lets us know when those overflows are going to occur before they happen, just before they happen. That gives us, extra time to respond, close off the areas, see if we can, ensure that the public's not coming in contact. We've also put flow monitors in areas where we know we had a lot of basement backups. With the rainfall data, that helps educate us as to how our system is reacting, why we're having basement backups in those areas. And we've also put in additional flow monitors in the Dundalk sewer shed to recalibrate our system. We want to make sure that we're using the best data, that when we have a rain event, how our hydraulic model predicts it will behave is actually the way it's behaving. So we're using these to sort of ground truth the way the model is behaving. And we've submitted progress reports to EP and MDE for each calendar quarter. That shows the progress we've been making on our phase 1 projects. All of those are available on our website. If you go to DPW, go to the consent decree tab, you're able to pull those up on the front page. With our quarterly reports, we give a lot of information. We also give a lot of infographics. If you're more visual, you have things like this which show just how we're progressing. The lines here are the amount of work we need to complete. The orange is the work we've completed for various different things. These are the sewer sheds that we have that represent the bottom figures there. We also, it's hard to read, but we are articulating the linear feet of CIPP lining, those kinds of things. You can access that again on our website. So we also have our Back River Wastewater Treatment Plant Headworks project as part of our phase 1 projects. That is a $430 million project. We're putting in a number of different structures, different facilities. These are the beginning of the influent coming in. That will have pumps, that will have grit removal facilities. These are the large $36 million gallon holding tanks, which we can use for equalization during high flow events. By finishing construction on this, we should be able to eliminate about 80%, a little more than 80% of the volume of SSOs that we've experienced. So under paragraph 10, we have an illegal connection elimination plan. When individuals, homeowners, businesses, if they have roof leaders, other systems that connect rainwater into our system, we don't want that to happen. We want our sewage system to be for sewage. So we go in, we enforce, we try to make sure that those connections are eliminated and that we only have sanitary sewage in our sewer system. We did a lot of work on this in 2002. We went out and did a lot of enforcement, eliminated a lot of these connections. We have not really found that we have illegal connections in the past 2 years. Come on. That's going to be easier. So we do inspections of our pumping stations. Where we are now, we're really doing proactive maintenance. What we're seeing is we're not doing a lot of reaction now. So over the past 12 months, we have had no overflows caused by our pumping stations. We've had no near misses, so things are progressing fine there. For paragraph 12, we look at our collection transmission system model. That is the hydraulic model that I was speaking of. So the model established is really the baseline performance. We built this using 20 years of continual rainfall data. We try to hone that model. That is going to be a predictive tool that allows us to properly design our phase 2 projects. We want to do it once, we want to do it right. So we want to have those pipes, when they're built, be the right size to meet that performance goal that we have for the system. So over the past 12 months, we've developed a phase 1 post-construction flow monitoring plan. So after our phase 1 projects are completed, we have a plan already to go in to monitor the system to see what the effects of those completed projects have been. We've deployed 5 flow meters for the Dundalk sewer shed, as I discussed earlier. That's going to help us ground truth that model and make sure that it is properly predicting what we're seeing. And that model has also allowed us to eliminate an SSO structure that was discharging to the Herring Run sewer shed. This is the model. You can see it actually extends outside of Baltimore City. We tried to capture all of the 10-inch pipes and larger, and then there's also 8-inch connection pipes. As we go on, if we find that there are areas plagued by basement backups, we try to extend the model to include those areas. So for paragraph 13, we look at our collection system operation and maintenance. We specifically developed under our Director Chow, an Office of Asset Management to ensure that we are on top of the maintenance and operation of our utilities. They're underground. We're not seeing them all the time, but we want to make sure that we're keeping them up to date. properly maintaining them. It's cheaper in the long run to go in and do that maintenance rather than responding to emergency work. We submitted an O&M plan for approval on November 29th, 2018. That was approved. We actually submitted an annual update, which was also approved by our regulators. So over the past 12 months, we have done targeting cleaning on 59 miles of our sanitary sewer collection system. We have treated 11 miles for fats, oils, and grease that could be collecting in the system. We have treated 77 miles to address root intrusion from trees. And we have inspected 3,900 food establishments to make sure that they are properly disposing of their fats, oils, and grease. For paragraph 14, Information Management System Program, for the most part, we need to retain the information, the studies that we're collecting as part of our obligations under the modified consent decree. One of the big events that we had in 2019, unfortunately, was the ransomware attack. So that crippled us for a while. We had some late submissions to MDE as a result. We did a big effort to try to regain some of those servers that were impacted, but we have recaptured those. We're using cloud-based utilities to make sure that we maintain those that data, that information. But we're also trying to continue to leverage technology. We use a system called CityWorks that tracks 311 calls, that tracks work orders. So when we need data, we're able to go into a system and easily access it to see what our maintenance crews were doing in the field and to get that information from them. So we are continuing to expand the use of CityWorks in our system. We have our maintenance folks with iPads in the field. They're able to put in information directly in the field, and we can leverage that to create things like our interactive sanitary sewer overflow map that we discussed last year. So addressing sanitary discharges of unknown origins. So there are times where we find evidence, likely through elevated ammonia levels in our receiving waters, that suggest there is sewage leaking into the system. We just don't know what the cause is yet. We have our folks from the Office of Compliance and Laboratories. They're there in the back. They just looked up at me. You say their names. They go out and do testing in the field. They're able to then track the source of the sanitary or the ammonia to see if that is in fact an SSO or some other discharge, maybe a connection to the stormwater system that should be going to the sanitary. So they're able to focus in on those SDUOs, solve the problem, and have them eliminated. Over the past 12 months, we've had 18 SDOs discovered. We have abated 10 already. We've abated another 5 from the previous year. And generally, when we find evidence of that ammonia in the system, we can identify or link that to an SDUO. We're able to eliminate or abate those discharges in about 80 days. So for paragraph 16, we have to submit a revised emergency response plan. We have submitted our emergency response plan April 4th of 2018. It is still pending. We have not gotten approval yet on that. I talked to staff earlier tonight. We should have a path forward, but we have to discuss a little more. Regardless, we are going out there. We are conducting trainings. We're making sure that our maintenance and our response staff is properly trained so when it is approved, there's not going to be any lag time between the approval and our compliance. We'll have immediate compliance. So reporting in overflows and record keeping. We do continue to see overflows in Baltimore City. We have seen a marked decrease, about a little more than 30% decrease from 2012 to 2018. These are fiscal years down here. As we all know, 2018 was a record year for rainfall. We see that in our fiscal year 2019 data that captures some of the rain events that were happening in the summer of 2018. So not unsurprisingly, we're seeing a spike in our SSOs. That was impacted by the amount of rain that we received then. We're thinking the overall trend is good. We're seeing a decrease, and hopefully that continues in a downward trajectory in future years. So we do stream quality monitoring as well, and that is done through our Office of Compliance and Laboratories. The ammonia screening is what we utilize to help identify and eliminate those SDUOs. We also do stream impact sampling. There are various locations where we have monitoring stations where we do the sampling on a regular basis. So within our Office of Compliance and Laboratories, we have 13 engineers and scientists. We have 89 stations that are routinely sampled for the two different types, the ammonia screening and the stream impact sampling. We have tested 496 samples for bacteria. And of those, we have done 3,724 ammonia screening samples. That has led to 168 investigations, leading to 56 sewage discharges found and 18 SDUOs identified. So they're out there, they're doing the testing, they're doing the sampling, and that is leading to good data. This is data on E. coli through 2020. These are our yearly samples. Just because we're reducing sanitary sewer overflows, that is not going to result in a direct correlation for water quality. Water quality is impacted by a lot of different inputs. There's the county upstream that has sanitary sewer overflows. There are farms, there are dog parks, there are a number of different things that can impact. So what we try to focus on is not necessarily good data for the year 2020, but really long-term trends. That's really going to show if we're getting a reduction or an improvement in water quality for the reduction in sanitary sewer overflows. Here is some data on Enterococcus, which is taken in our tidal waters. Again, we're probably like to see some of these decreased, but we're looking at the long-term trends. This is not something that directly correlates to SSOs. So we have these various deliverables, reports and things that need to be provided to our regulators. We produce basement backup guides, which are going to be available at Station 6. We have various things that are submitted. All of these things can be found on our website. If you go to DPW's website, you go to the sanitary sewer consent decree link. They're here in the chart. You can click on these things. You can bring up those plans. You can read them. All of the quarterly reports are there. All of that information is available to the public. We're trying to be very transparent. You can sign up for notifications on the website. That means when something is submitted, you'll be able to get notification that it was there. And that website, again, is down here, Public Works, baltimorecity.gov, sewer consent decree. We're not just doing projects. So one of the concerns that we have in the city is we're really taxing the number of contractors that are available to do this work. We need to make sure that we have a workforce out there that can do the work that we need completed. We have, for our phase 1 projects, probably, I think it's estimated $2.7 billion worth of work that needs to be done. That is significant. In order to get good bids, low bids, we want to have a competitive market out there. So one of the things we've done is establish a small business development program. Now, they might not be able to hit the ground running on a $50 million project, but we want to start developing the businesses in Baltimore so they can start competing for these projects. So far, since the initiation of the consent decree, we have had 140 firms graduate. 80 firms are minority and women business certified. 40 firms have pre-qualified for contracts of $50,000 to $2.5 million. And we've been recognized by the Greater Baltimore Committee for this work we've done. And I'd like to highlight one particular graduate, B&B, who has just recently been awarded 2 separate contracts for closed caption TV work within our sewer system. Those contracts will total just over $500,000. So we're happy, we're proud that we're getting out there. We're helping to develop the workforce in Baltimore City. We looked at this not just as a burden on us, but as really an opportunity to give back, to help develop and help build Baltimore City along with us. So in review, we're doing what we need to do. We're continuing with our projects that are going to reduce the occurrences of SSOs. We're evaluating our collection system. We're doing that through our hydraulic model. We're making sure that it's ground truth, that we have good data, so that is a solid predictive tool that will allow us to develop good phase 2 projects so we can have our system meet the mandated performance goal. We're trying to extend the time frame to do this work so we can do it in an economical fashion. We know we've had to increase rates because of this. We don't want to continue doing that. So we want to make sure we're working smart and making sure that we're getting the best we can for the ratepayer money. And we're investing in small business as a means of long-term improving the bids that we receive and improve the competitiveness of the contractors who are working on our projects. So now we'll end this diatribe here, and you can go to the various learning stations. We have learning station 1 is communications. Learning station 2 will have information on the collection system and tools. Oh, and we're walking around. I'm sorry. You were pointing, and I thought I had it right. So going this way. Learning station 3 is maintenance, preventative maintenance. That is the folks from our Office of Asset Management. Learning station 4 is compliance in the back here. The folks from our Office of Compliance and Laboratories. Learning station 5 is our facilities. They have information on headworks, and I think they even have a computer up with some fancy technology for you. Learning station 6 is the regulatory requirements. They'll have pamphlets on basement backups. They'll have pamphlets on home serve. And learning station 7 is our Office of Boards and Commissions. They do the small business development program and assist with the development of contracts. So they're there to help you as well. I thank everybody for coming out, and please linger around. Please talk to people, and we'll be here to answer questions.